Went around the world with a silhouette of any character you could ever think of. I think probably one of the most recognizable characters that the whole world would spot is Godzilla. That silhouette is in all popular culture, and it doesn't even matter if you've ever seen the movie or not. Everybody sees that thing that looks like a giant dinosaur over a city, and they just know it's Godzilla.
The brand of Godzilla has been around a long, long time.
The first movie came out in 1954, so it's a long period of time for the fan base to continually be there and grow.
You know he existed. Everyone somehow, you'd heard of Godzilla. You knew he was this giant monster. Beyond that, I didn't know much more else. When I was a teenager on Channel 4, on a Friday night, they would have a creature feature. These looked like some sort of sci-fi film. And then as it got going, it was kind of realized it was Japanese, and then a bit further in, it was like, oh, hang on, this is Godzilla.
Back in 2014, a pretty great movie came out, but let's roll it back a bit. That's right, all the way back to 1954, which was 10 years after the events of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. Japan was devastated and wanted a close watch by the US. Along with that came censorship. Censorship was speaking out about the bombs and the American occupation of the country and many other issues that were being caused because of it. One of those issues being films. That's correct, films. See, the censorship slipped this way into theaters, as block any mention of the incidents that were occurring, so no filmmakers or studios can make any media directly related to the bomb or anything of that sort in Japan. So filmmakers had to get creative by sneaking their message into a movie, which at face value seems like it has nothing to do with anything related to what had happened. And one of those examples was See, what Toho and terrific director Hishiro Honda did was to sneak the morals of nuclear war and what it can cause in form of a giant lizard. Now, this video isn't about Godzilla 1954. No, in fact, it's about a film that came out almost exactly 60 years after, out of the series of movies it spawned, and in my opinion, the best of them all.
What? What the fuck?
Okay, I know what you're thinking, but hear me out. As you can see by the title and thumbnail, this movie, Godzilla 2014, is exactly 10 years old by the time of this upload, which is the exact same distance between Godzilla 2014 and Godzilla Final War, which released in 2004. As at this point of Godzilla's many eras, in this case, the Millennium Era, the franchise wasn't as popular as it was in the 90s when it hit its peak, and was actually losing the studio money. And in a last-ditch attempt, they threw out a chaotic monster blast, which lost them even more money. So they put the King of the Monsters on a hiatus that would prove to be the last Godzilla movie for 10 years. Until Legendary and distributors Warner Brothers temporarily bought the rights and were in production of the new Godzilla movie. I remember all the posters, which even though they have aged, to this day are still some of the best movie posters I've ever seen. It gave me hype to see a movie I've already seen 1,000 times all over again. The hype was real, and the marketing was pushing it even further. The movie was even being bumped up to take down The Winter Soldier and The Amazing Spider-Man 2 to be blockbuster of the summer. So, on May 6th, 2014, it was finally released, and it got mixed reviews. One side of the audience, they adored the movie and liked the story it was trying to tell, whilst the other side hated it because there wasn't enough monster action. Although the film was a success, critically, it wasn't the best, which is sad as I feel this movie, although not perfect, deserved more appreciation. While movies like Godzilla x Kong were highly rated even with all of its flaws. Yes, I was one of the many people who watched GXK in theaters, and I brought my uncle and my cousin with me. And although we made some fun memories, most of it wasn't from the movie we were watching. You could replace it with almost any other movie and there probably wouldn't be a difference, because as all three of us were discussing the movie in the car, we realized we had almost completely forgotten what happened in that movie, and it took us a while to remember these core things that would help us probably critique this movie, as it was that forgettable. a far cry from what they did a decade prior. They flew over important plot points as if they were Superman. They made characters bumbling idiots instead of fleshed out real people that we can relate to, and thought the audience was so dumb that it just came out with plot points out of nowhere, and then bam, we're in another monster brawl scene. And why wouldn't they? I mean, it's making them money, and I mean, a lot of money, and the majority of the audience clearly loves it, so why not? Why make actual films if you can pump out low-budget, forgettable brawls for more bank? And I gotta say, I can't blame them. At the end of the day, it's us, the audience, who can turn this around, put the MonsterVerse back on the right track. But for those of us who want good content, are only a small group, as again, the majority of the audience loves this type of content and will defend it to death and claim you're a fake fan or a MonsterVerse hater, and that it's a popcorn flick, as if that's a good reason to make a bad movie. And that's not all, as they'll try to say you're comparing it to -1, and say how they're different movies, which is true, and I hate the soy boy YouTubers who do that, but Godzilla 2014 is literally in the same universe as GXK, and yet it feels nothing like it. I believe they could have put Godzilla 2014 and Kong Skull Island in their own universe and disconnected the other 3 movies entirely. Although King of Monsters was pretty goofy, it had the same intention as Godzilla 2014, but went about it in all the wrong ways. And it's saddening to see the majority of the people disagree with me on this. I remember when I was a kid, I watched movies with my mom all the time. We got through with this one movie we were watching, and I was about to go in my room until she told me to stay because Godzilla was coming on. At the time, I didn't know what that was. It was Godzilla vs. Destroyer, my first ever Godzilla movie, and I was mesmerized by it. And ever since that day, I tried to find more Godzilla movies. That's when I found out a new Godzilla movie was coming out that year, and I was beyond ecstatic. And although I didn't watch it in theaters, I did watch it once it came on cable TV, which is what the kids had back then, and trust me, it's even worse now. So I recorded it, came back to it the next day, and watched it on my TV. And I loved it. Even as a little kid who loved tons of action and didn't care about characters whatsoever. But this time, even when the monsters weren't on screen, I still found myself invested in what I was watching. Even though back then, I thought the black and white Godzilla movies were boring. For some reason, this wasn't. It was instantly ranked as one of my favorites. And as I got older, it became my all-time favorite. And no discredit to movies like Shin Godzilla, -1, or 1954. But hey, they're completely different types of movies, so I can't compare them, right? For me, I look back fondly at this in an almost nostalgic way, which hopefully doesn't cloud my judgment, and that's exactly what the director Gareth Edwards wanted.
This is not going to be some silly, cheesy Hollywood movie. It's going to be like an emotional, epic, cinematic blockbuster. I really want to make something that's going to stand the test of time.
He wanted it to stand the test of time, which clearly, for most people, it didn't. But for us, the minority of people who love this movie and its tone and just want it back, it seems like we'll never see anything like this in the MonsterVerse ever again. And well, I want our voices to be heard too. Just like the voices of the GXK lovers, I want us to stand up and use our platform, regardless of how big or small, and just ask for better movies. Oh wait, don't think I was done. Yes, I know, this isn't the most civil community, and I know some of the fans watching that will leave toxic comments are either little kids with no boundaries and little to no brain cells, or man children who own My Little Pony dolls. And to be honest, unlike most YouTubers who talk about Godzilla, I really don't care if you leave a toxic comment. I'm not gonna cry and delete it, unlike some other YouTubers. And you can say my opinion is completely idiotic. As stated before, I don't care. This video is for the fans of this film, and if you don't like it,
Okay.
So, with all that out of the way, I don't know whether this video will get 40 views or 20 million. So I'm very unsure, but just in case I get 8 billion views, please like and subscribe and tell me what you thought of this film. Did you like it? Did you hate it? And I know for the people that have been watching me for a long time, they're used to me uploading football or sports content. And yes, I will continue that as it's my thing. I'm sorry, it's just this topic was too hard to resist. I mean, the movie literally turned 10 years old today. But yes, for that, tomorrow I'm coming at you with another edit. But if you do want to see me do a little more content like this, please subscribe. Tell me. And with that being said, if you were still here, thank you.